welcome to Ice Cream, You Scream, your weekly scoop of the most chilling histories, mysteries, and paranormal perplexities. I'm Gina.
I'm Kathryn.
And every month we choose a new topic and a new ice cream flavor to go along with it. This month we're talking about demons while we munch on some apple cinnamon ice cream. So grab a spoon and let's dig in.
Yay.
Hooray.
Hooray.
I'm going to have a bite before I get into what I need to say. So I feel the need to address a comment that we received.
I can't do it. It's so funny. I'm already I can't laugh because I'll cough. And this was the funniest thing that ever happened to us. Please continue. I'm sorry. I can't get over this.
So a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the werewolf trials. And in one of the stories that we told in there was something about somebody had to be beheaded such that a cartwheel could be rolled in between the head and the body. Like the head had to be far enough away from the body that a cartwheel can go between it. Kathryn and I thought that it meant like a physical, like a gymnastics cartwheel. And so we talked about that on the podcast.
At length. For a long time. We were theorizing about what they could have meant.
Yeah, and talking about how stressful it would be for the executioner to have to do a cartwheel.
Oh my God.
And then some lovely person on our YouTube channel put a comment on that video, and it was, I don't have it in front of me, but it was worded so kindly and nicely and just very gently telling us that it probably meant the wheel on a cart, like a horse and cart. Kathryn texted me about it because I didn't see it. I think Kathryn sent me a screenshot of it or something, and we both proceeded to lose our collective fucking mind.
I've never laughed so hard at a comment ever because it was immediately, you know, that moment where you immediately know, wow, my brain truly just was not, the on switch was off in that moment. I didn't even get to the part where they said the wheel of a cart. The moment I saw the word cartwheel, they said something like, oh, surely they don't mean a cartwheel, parentheses, wee, and a cartwheel emoji. The moment I saw that, I was I knew exactly what it was supposed to be. Seeing it written out, I was this is ridiculous. That is absolutely not what they meant. Immediately, I could not stop laughing. I was laughing. I had to wait a day to respond to this comment because I was laughing so hard. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to use my keyboard. Oh my God, that was the funniest thing I've ever experienced. So anyway, yeah, we definitely were confused, and thank you so much to the person who left us that comment. We very much appreciate it. We can share the comment in the video if we want to, but it was just so funny. It was the most funny. I felt truly wow, I just can't believe how much time we spent on it for it to be so
really
obvious.
Digging into it hard.
And it was the way they phrased it, surely they don't mean this, but the wheel of a cart. I'm surely that's true. Of course that's true. Why the fuck would that not be true? Oh my God, that was the funniest thing ever.
Surely.
Thank you so much.
A little bit of a dumb bitch sometimes, but
we both have master's degrees.
Do you think we should give them back?
Oh my God. If I can find mine, I don't know.
I don't know where mine is either.
Are we supposed to keep those? It's, you know what? It's somewhere. I have it framed in a frame that it doesn't actually fit in. So I put a little piece of cardboard, or not cardboard, construction paper behind it. Because I was oh, I'm going to make it look like it's got a mat behind it. It doesn't. It looks like some preschooler slapped a piece. Oh my God. Anyway.
Mine's still in the envelope that it came in.
Truly.
Somewhere.
So yeah, shout out for that listener. You're a real one. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you come back. Maybe it'll get smarter. I don't know. That remains to be seen. Well, maybe we'll be intelligent moving forward. Oh my God, that was so funny. Anyway, speaking of being unintelligent, I had a whole thing I wanted to talk about in our last episode, and I completely forgot. I started talking about something else entirely. I had a fun fact about the Amityville movie that I completely forgot to share. It's really anticlimactic. It's not going to mean anything to anyone, but I wanted you to know. So the remake, the one with Ryan Reynolds, not Ryan Gosling, another mistake that we've made. The part of that movie, like the house and the set and the small town and everything, was filmed in Salem, Wisconsin, which is not far from me at all. Yeah, it's only like, I actually have no idea how far it is, maybe like an hour. Yeah, wow. A big part of it, it was like shot in like, it's like southern Wisconsin and then northern Illinois. There's locations on both sides of the border that it was shot in. That's it. That's a fun fact.
I've always thought if Long Island had a twin, it would be
southern Wisconsin.
Salem, Wisconsin.
I say that all the time. What's the difference between Wisconsin and New York, really? So anyway.
Anywho.
We could also talk about how the mistake I made of creating my own ice cream recipe, and so when I opened the freezer today, there was a block of ice in place of my ice cream, so I had to throw it in the microwave on auto defrost.
She sent me a video of her trying to scoop it, and it was doing the thing where your spoon like clinks against frozen liquid. It's really funny.
I literally had to chisel my way into this ice cream. Anyway.
I don't really have much else.
That's all right. I already drank the last of my ice cream. Okay. So
I'm full of curiosity about what you're about to tell me.
Well, buckle up, baby, because I'm about to tell you all about Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. I'm very excited for this episode. All right. So most of us know her as Adam's first wife, the infamous Adam, first guy on Earth. This version of Lilith can be attributed to a Jewish text that was written in the Middle Ages called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah. And I am going to apologize for pronunciations right at the top here because I wrote everything out phonetically instead of trying to fuck around with remembering it, and I'm going to have to just still do my best. Anyway, so grain of salt with all of these names for every episode for the rest of my life. The Alphabet of Ben Sirah is an anonymous text that was written sometime around the year 1000 AD. It's a volume of 22 stories that represent each of the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. I think it was the fifth story in this collection is a story within a story, and that's where we meet Lilith. The premise of the story goes as such. King Nebuchadnezzar,
nailed it,
probably, of Babylon, has a young son who has fallen ill. So a courtier named Ben Sirah is summoned to come and try to cure the son of his illness. So he comes in and he invokes the name of God by inscribing an amulet with the names of 3 healing angels named Sinoi, Sansanoi, and Samangaloth, probably.
You're doing great.
Thank you so much. I'm so scared. Okay. So to give context about who these angels are and what they do, that is where we get the story of Adam and Lilith. So this is where we kind of go into the story within the story that is within these tablets. So in the story, God creates Adam from the dirt. And once he does this, God's like, it's not good for a man to be alone. So he decides to make a woman also of the dirt. First ever woman, and her name was Lilith. Immediately, Adam and Lilith begin fighting. Lilith has declared that she refuses to lie underneath Adam during sex, which I'm like, why are we telling this story to a child who's sick, first and foremost? Like, I mean, to each their own, but I think that's a little weird. But they're arguing over this, and Adam insists that she belongs below him because she's his wife. She's like, fuck this. No one rules over me. God created both of us from dirt, so we're equal. We are of the same substance. Adam was like, no way. Big, strong guy, big, strong ego. You need to answer to me. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, just so everyone knows. This is not a direct quote. I assume that was obvious, but I don't want anyone to come for me. This is just a summary of what happened. Might be a little interpretation on my part, give or take. So anyway, this infuriated Lilith, and she grew so frustrated that she took the Lord's name in vain. Big no-no. So she's pissed. She's clearly mad. Adam's mad at her for like being disrespectful and just like wanting to have pleasurable sex. And so the fighting just escalates and escalates and escalates until eventually Lilith sprouts these huge like bat-like wings and fucks off to the Red Sea.
Fuck yeah.
That's where Moses hung out. I'm summarizing. So Adam's like, what the fuck? Now I'm just here alone. What do I do? So he prays to God to help him figure out what to do next. God says, if Lilith wants to return, if she wants to come back to the garden, great. If she doesn't, she must accept that 100 of her children will die every day. Because apparently, as the first woman on Earth, she's also like soups dupes fertile. She needed to populate the Earth. So,
ooh.
Yeah. So God sends these 3 angels out to find her and tell her this deal that they are like trying to make with her. Basically, come back and answer to Adam and just do what you gotta do to like create the earth or whatever, or we'll curse you to be this like violent, murderous thing.
Just let her be on top, dude.
Right? Like, there's a very simple solution here.
Fucking getting the Lord to smite people. Just fucking take a load off. So
the angels don't want to have to curse her, apparently. So their other solution was, we can also drown you in the Red Sea if you don't want to be cursed.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. So, yeah. She refuses. She's like, that's not the light for me. I don't like that guy. I don't want to go back. Fucking curse me. I don't give a shit. The angels are begging her to come back because they don't want to have to do this. They don't want to have to like, they're like put in between a rock and a hard place. You know, it's kind of like a don't shoot the messenger. They don't want to have to like make this decision. But they don't have a choice because that's God's will. So they basically end up cursing her. She was like, you know what? Like, let me make the decision for you. I'm not going back. Don't you dare try to drown me. Just fucking curse me. I don't care. So within this interaction, the angels are still like, this sucks. Like, we don't want to have to do this. So they end up making a deal upon cursing her that basically children are not safe from Lilith. But if you inscribe these angels' names on an amulet, she will know to stay away from that child. Like, that can be like their kind of middle ground of like, she's now cursed to kill her children 100 per day forever and eternity.
Oh, she has to kill them?
Yes, she is cursed to kill children.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Well, not cool, but...
Not cool, but yeah.
I understand now, yeah.
Yeah, and because these angels were so torn up about it, she was like, all right, let's make a deal like there can be some form of protection. And that is where the legend of inscribing their names on an amulet came in. And like the deal is, if you inscribe these 3 angels' names on an amulet, they will be there to like protect the child. So that's like kind of, it's not really middle ground. It still sucks for everyone involved.
That's a big loophole though.
Yeah. But that's the deal they came to. And so that, you know, when you come out the upper level of this story, that's why Ben Sirel was explaining that inscribing these angel names on this amulet would help this child. It would help him, or it would help protect him from Lilith. So they curse her. She's doomed to kill kids for the rest of eternity because Adam sucks. So
yeah, that's a lot of fucking
very dramatic.
Yeah, I have some thoughts.
Yeah, very dramatic. So this is Lilith. This is the story of Lilith, or at least the story of Lilith that people want us to know. She's often referred to as a succubus who hates children and just leaves chaos and heartbreak in her wake, because like this whole story starts with like she leaves Adam alone and desolate and brokenhearted, and then all this chaos ensues. That's the story that is told.
Fucking toxic exes, am I right?
Right, exactly. So the second time God tried his hand at creating a woman, they decided to take her from Adam's rib instead. So she would be forced to be submissive because they were no longer of the same substance. She is now of Adam. So that's how we get Eve. The story's not about Eve, but like real quick, I do have to say justice for Eve because I've been seeing a lot of like discourse of like be a Lilith, not an Eve. And I don't love that vibe. Like, I feel like Lilith wouldn't like that. It wasn't Eve's fault that she was forced to be submissive. And also, she's the mother of all sin. So, like, shout out to Eve for giving me some of the best times of my life. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think it's more like don't be an Adam in this context.
That's all, right? Exactly.
Like, don't
so
curse
women
for
supporting
eternity.
women. Yeah, we're not anti-Eve on this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Like I said, this is the story of Lilith that many of us know, but that doesn't mean that that's where her story starts. Lilith's origins are ancient. When people talk about, quote, the old gods, that's the era we're talking about. Those are the gods that Lilith hung around with. We're taking it all the way back to the beginning of recorded history, my newest obsession since we started this podcast, early Mesopotamia.
Nice.
A lot of fun shit going on back then. The first time Lilith ever appears in any recorded text was in the legend of Gilgamesh. It was written in 2000 BC, so that's 3,000 years before she shows up in the story we just heard. It's quite a long time. The legend of Gilgamesh was a Sumerian epic poem, and it was written on clay tablets and chronicles the journey of this guy Gilgamesh, who's considered the first ever literary hero. He goes on this giant quest to find the meaning of life. Adventure ensues. It's like one of those. Tale as old as time, literally. This was like the first recorded one. So on tablet 12, there's a story called Gilgamesh and the Hulupu tree. In this story, Gilgamesh comes upon the garden of Inanna, who is the goddess of erotic love, which, like, again, nice. Tell me a man wrote this without telling me the man wrote this. So she's upset because her garden is being destroyed by all these demons and monsters. And she's particularly nervous about this hulupu tree in her garden because it's this sacred tree that was intentionally planted near, I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it the Euphrates River?
Euphrates, yeah.
Euphrates, okay. So they're on this river and she's nervous about this tree. There's this serpent-like dragon flapping around and an anzu, which is one of those lion-headed birds. They're often depicted in Mesopotamian stories, and it built its nest in the tree. So, like, all these creatures are, like, starting to get a little too close to this tree for Inanna's comfort. And in addition to those monsters, there's also what was referred to as a Lilitu, and that is a female version of a Lilu, which is a type of demon. So Lilitu are, quote, shrieking vampiric demoness that ancient Mesopotamians believed were created from the spirits of adolescents who died before they could get married and have kids. So it was like, yeah, isn't that
adolescents
so sad?
Who died before they got married and had kids.
Yep, it was like if you were young, if you died young, basically, before you were able to, quote unquote, start a family, you, as the legend went, would become a Lilu or a Lilitu.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of, I don't personally believe this, obviously, but they were kind of thought of as like unfulfilled souls. Like, the greatest accomplishment you could get would be to get married and have kids.
Naturally.
And yes. If you were unable to do that, you were doomed to become a demon because your soul was not fulfilled.
That's interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It goes deep. Like, why do we have to be so deep with that? So this Lilitu in the Gilgamesh story is building her home in the base of the tree, like a hollow tree type deal. And everything's just getting ruined. Like, this garden is just being overrun with these demons. And so Gilgamesh comes in and starts saving the day, essentially. He slays the dragon, the bird flies away somewhere, and the Lilith panics because when he slayed the dragon, she like freaked out because, I don't know, they were like besties or something like that. There's something with the Lilith and serpents that is very, like, a serpent is often used to represent Lilith or the Lilith, so there was something, they had a connection in some way. So she freaks out that Gilgamesh killed this dragon thing. She sprouts wings and lets out a blood-curdling screech and flies off into the desert. So
I love that as an expression of rage.
Yeah, truly. The first story that I told, sometimes in some versions of that story, people will tell it and say that Lilith didn't go to the Red Sea. She went into the desert and was like wandering the desert for the rest of eternity. So this is where that comes from. The desert is part of the Gilgamesh story. The Red Sea is part of the Lilith story.
Okay.
But sometimes they get overlapped, and there's, that's part of her legend, is she was like doomed to wander the desert. But anyway.
Is the Red Sea the one with the really high salt content, or is that
That's the Dead Sea.
Okay, never mind.
Red Sea is the one that Moses parted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
would rather go to the Red Sea than the desert if you got to pick.
I don't know which one I'd want. Depends which desert, maybe.
Well, I guess also if you're like a god that doesn't need, or not god, entity that might not need things like water and shelter.
Oh yeah, good point. I don't know if she would. Because, like, would it matter if she was near the Red Sea? Because if it's a sea, it's salt water, so she wouldn't be able to drink it anyway, right?
I was just thinking, like, recreationally, there's more to do at the sea, like at the beach.
You're thinking of, like, the vacation aspect.
Yeah.
Also, there would be, I mean, it rains more, so she could get fresh water.
Mm-hmm. Make sand castles.
Yeah.
Sorry, please keep going.
No, I'm just trying to decide which one I would want to do now. I don't know. I mean, I do love water. I guess Red Sea, yeah. I just don't like the idea of being banished anywhere. I think that's why I'm struggling.
No,
don't tell me where to go.
Let me go.
Like, that's like...
What's the thing that Ryan from The Office said? Like, lead me when I'm in the mood to be led.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, same.
Anyway, one thing I found interesting between these two stories is that this original version of Lilith as this demon Lilith, they were people that didn't, quote, have the opportunity to have children. And then in Lilith's story, she was blessed to be ultra fertile, but then cursed to basically undo that fertility. You know what I mean? So there's a huge connection to, like, fertility and reproduction and all of that, especially since the whole drama started with her and Adam because of sex. So there's a lot going on with, like, baby making in her story, which I think we don't often associate her with. That's not usually, like, forethought when it comes to Lilith, but that's such a strong piece of her legend.
Yeah, because it's like the opposite when I think of Eve, I think about, like, fertility and, motherhood and all that stuff.
Well, and that's by design. We are supposed to think of Eve as the mother and the good one and the one that, like, they got it right this time when they made her, you know what I mean? And Lilith is very much like the anti-mother, she fucked up. And even the whole, like, Eve being the quintessential mother and the bearer of all life, like, talk about pressure. Like, yeah. That sucks too. Like, yeah, so no one can win.
And Adam's over here just picking his fucking sex positions, having a great old time.
And boo-hooing when things don't go his way.
No, I have too many hot girlfriends and a nice garden.
So yeah, like, all of this is to say we can very clearly see the parallels, and not just the parallels of these two stories, but the transition of how the story grew over time. To this day, there are pieces of Lilith's story in all the Abrahamic traditions, which include Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. She kind of appears in some version in all of these, not necessarily always in official religious texts, but sometimes in folklore or just stories or oral traditions passed down. Even though the Hebrew story is probably, I'm going to say arguably the most popular and most widely known, she also shows up in versions of the Christian Bible. There is one passage, Isaiah 34:14, that describes the dangers and desolation of the desert. It says, quote, "Wild animals shall meet with hyenas, and wild goats shall cry to one another. There also Lilith shall settle and find a place to rest." That is not what it says in the King James translation. In the King James Bible, it says, "The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there and find for herself a place to rest." So, dude, sorry, I just got like dizzy. I'm sorry. I might be talking
It's all
too
that
much.
Bible. Maybe you're a demon.
Truly, all that Bible talk. God's
Fizzling
mad
you
that
out.
I'm talking shit. Okay, so in this version, we're talking about a screech owl, not a female demon named Lilith. I'm also going to bring up what a satyr is because I did not know, but it's the little goat guys that
like
are
Mr. Tumnus or whatever from Narnia.
Mr. Tumnus. I was going to say Phil from Hercules because I always think it's funny that guy's name is Phil.
That's a better. Yeah, that's a better. Yeah, because I want to say Tumnus is something different, but I can't remember what he is.
No, I think he is that. I forgot about. I think he is a satyr. Yeah, okay. He's just not. I don't think he's little in that movie. I think that's what's confusing.
I think we should take a lesson from Hercules and have Danny DeVito play every satyr in every movie ever.
I know that was animated, but it also was the best casting decision in cinematic history.
Agreed.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. Think of Phil when you read that Bible verse. Okay. So anyway, like I said, this story refers to a screech owl instead of Lilith by name. Why is this? This is actually kind of a fun fact that I thought was very strange, but enjoyed it. So Samaria, where the Lilith legend started, was in southern Mesopotamia, which is present-day Iraq. When the King James Bible was being translated and they were working on it, it was determined that English-speaking Christians weren't going to be familiar enough with Sumerian history for a mention of Lilith or Lily to resonate with people. So they were like, no one's going to know what that means or why this is dangerous. So they decided to go with more symbolic imagery, and they decided to go with a screech owl because they were trying to paint the picture of like a nocturnal danger situation. So they replaced her with an owl. So technically Lilith doesn't show up anywhere in English-speaking Christian tradition, but instead the owl shows up as like a bad omen type situation, but in place of the Lilitu.
That is such a fun fact.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, they basically were like, these people aren't going to know what we're talking about, so let's make it an owl. So that's now, like, the owl is often thought of as like bad luck and, bad things to come and protect your children, but it's because of the Lilitu.
That's interesting that you say that, because I don't think I knew that an owl, is it an owl or a screech owl that's supposed to be bad luck?
Screech owl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that, because when you were talking about that at first, I thought it was interesting that like they kind of replaced her with an animal that can represent wisdom.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And I don't know where that symbolism started either. Like, I don't know how long. I don't know what came first. Yeah. Wait, what'd you say? I
said probably the Tootsie Pop commercials.
Oh, I was going to say Winnie the Pooh.
Both great. Yeah, both of those, yeah.
Those are probably the start of many, many legends.
No, that's a very good fact, though. I like that. Mm-hmm.
So from this translation, that is where the association Lilith has with owls comes into place. So two of her more common kind of imagery or symbols are the serpent and the owl, or screech owl, whatever. And this is why. these stories are kind of where that started. As far as Islam is concerned, Lilith, again, doesn't really show up in any official religious doctrine, but there are folk stories about basically being careful around night birds for the same reasons mentioned above. Like, it can be very bad luck, it can be a bad omen, protect your children, everything I said before. It's thought that if Lilith tricks you into thinking she's just some like winged night beast or whatever, she can get close enough because she's not her normal demonic form to harm children. Like, she can get close enough to kids and pregnant women. Pregnant women are also like advised to be careful. And that's essentially why. Like, it's thought that if she can trick you into thinking she's a night bird, she can get close enough to cause harm. It's also said in some Islamic folklore that men are in danger of her stealing their sperm so that they can't procreate. Because remember, part of her story is that she's the succubus. So she'll like trick them into having sex with her so they can't have babies with the real women, so they can't like populate the earth.
Funniest superpower ever.
Truly. Like, yeah.
The sperm stealer.
That's the, yeah. So she's thought to cause impotence essentially in men. That's like the story.
So sick. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. That's like the story that was created to like explain erectile dysfunction.
The junk burglar.
It was the owl. Anyway, just one thing I want to point out at this point in the story, it's like my favorite thing ever. In every single version of her story, she is A, shrieking, love and respect, B, somehow preventing the advancement of the human population, and C, flapping around with like big spooky wings. So that's Lilith. like that's it. That's who she is. Those are like, if I can summarize her vibe, that's got to be it.
I'm very intrigued. I didn't know any of this. I knew that she was kind of known as Adam's first wife, and I knew some of the details of that story. All of the rest of this, completely new information, and I am enchanted by it.
Yeah, I love it. So everything that we just talked about, like there has been an evolution as far as like who she is and what she does, how she came to be. But like I said previously, it's all very similar, and she still maintains the same themes. Her evolution has happened very slowly. She went from a lost soul that turned into a demon, back in like her Sumerian story, to basically this like sex-crazed, man-hating woman. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the vibe. It is worth noting that some religious scholars do believe it's possible that the alphabet of Ben Sirah was a satire on religion. I don't know how popular that theory is. It was something that was mentioned a few times, but there's not enough evidence to confirm whether or not that is actually true, especially since, remember, that text was anonymous, so they don't know like the official beliefs of the person who wrote it. But I think it's worth bringing up because throughout history, it hasn't ever been treated as satire. So whether it was or wasn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it does matter, I think, but it doesn't really change things. It doesn't change her story. It's kind of one of those hindsight is 2020, but also not really, because we still don't know. But if it was satire, that kind of can change the way you think of that story, because it is so ridiculous, and we were laughing our way through it, that it's like, there's almost a conspiracy theory in here. Like, could that have been meant as like a cautionary tale for men and not women?
I like that one. I like that.
Me too. And again, this is a hypothesis. Like, they question whether or not, and I don't know, I should say, I didn't have a ton of time to dive deep into this theory, so I don't know what makes them think it could have been satire. I don't know if it was like things that were mentioned in some of the other stories, or the way it was written, or if they suspect they know who wrote. Like, I don't know. So if you do know, if you know more about this than I do, please hit the link in the show notes or send us an email, because I would be interested to learn why they think this. But again, that really doesn't change her story. Like, socially, she has been thought to be this like horrible female beast that cannot be trusted. But it's like, could it have been meant to have the opposite effect? We don't know. But I do like the idea that it was meant to, because that would be preferred.
I like that. I like the layers to that very much.
Regardless, that is not how it was received, and that's not how her story went. So eventually, not even eventually, like from the onset, her story has been viewed as kind of a cautionary tale. They were told as a way basically to make women afraid of like stepping out of line, to make children help keep their mothers in line, for lack of a better phrase. Like, you don't want to be like caught up with this Lilith situation. Like, children need to be protected, women need to be the ones to protect them. That was basically the message that was being given. So Lilith is an archetype, basically. She is the antithesis of what people would consider like the ideal wife, mother, woman. She's meant to, well, I don't even want to say meant to. I will say, like, over time, she kind of grew to represent sort of the most like primal form of female energy and power. Over the years, over the millennia, people started acknowledging that, you know, while yes, she was turned into this beast, this demon, she did so because she had a choice. She chose that over something that she thought was far worse, which was spend her life with Adam. So people started kind of spinning it in like, okay, yes, she was a victim. She was 100% a victim of God and Adam, etc., etc. But she also used whatever powers she could to have the life she wanted. She's sensual, she's witty, she's bitchy, she's all of the things that women are not supposed to be. And most importantly, to our podcast, she's also heavily misunderstood. That's the eternal theme. So again, even though she's historically been thought of as a representation of kind of the bad girl, she's like this naughty, bad bitch. You can also look at it the other way. Like, that isn't necessarily the case. She's never, arguably, I'm going to say arguably, she's never done anything bad that wasn't forced upon her or due to a lack of choice. So there's kind of two sides of this coin. Again, especially in recent years, a lot more people are kind of acknowledging her as a good guy versus like the bad guy, because like all the choices she was given still were never good. Either stay in a toxic relationship or be cursed forever, either be homeless in the desert or we'll kill you like we killed your dragon friend. Like, she did what she could with what she had, and her story just kind of grew from there. She never made any indication that she wanted to hurt anyone or do anything bad to anyone. All of those things were always forced upon her, because really all she ever wanted to do was just live her own life and like flap around and do her own thing. That was really just kind of what it came down to for her.
I think it's so interesting that, like, even though in a lot of traditions she's supposed to be kind of like like you were saying, like the antithesis of the human nature to like reproduce and populate the earth. Like, she's the blocker. Even though she's cast as the bad guy in that scenario, that's still so much more power than I'm used to women having this far back in history. And even like, I mean, in modern times too, which I think is fascinating.
Well, and I think that kind of opens up another discussion of the concept of power is so subjective if you really think about it. Like, I don't know, like there's so much power in having children or like choosing not to. It's kind of like wherever you want to put your energy, like you have the power to do those things. And like when something is like forced upon you, like things were forced upon her, even when she didn't really have a choice, she still found a way to force her way into having a choice, you know? And that is so true for so many women throughout all of history. You know, I think we look at, you know, queens and like all of these things. It's like historically they didn't have a lot of power, but if you look closely at the decisions they did make and the things they were doing, they, like most stories, you will be able to find some version of that. Like they did what they could, you know? You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of that, what's that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? That one iconic line when she says the man is the head of the house, but the woman is the neck. That's the vibe that I'm like kind of ascribing to this story. Like you might be in charge, quote unquote, but like there's someone that can very much influence what direction you go in, you know?
Yeah. I love the feminine tradition of being fluent in operating between the lines.
Yeah. I love a loophole.
Me too. Same.
That's like one of those memes, like the feminine urge to blah, 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 or whatever. There's one thing I can trust all my gal pals to do. It's like, we'll find it. We'll find the loophole and we'll live our best lives.
Give us time and an Instagram handle and we'll find it.
Hashtag girlhood. So anyway, yes, I mean, we're kind of covering a lot of my next bullet points. Just the fact that she became that cautionary tale because it was so... Yes, she just wanted to do her own thing and live her own life and make her own decisions. But throughout history, that wasn't she just wanted to. Like, that was a big deal. Women weren't supposed to do that, no matter what that looked like for anyone. You know, it was like you had one option. People's attitudes, of course, have been shifting as far as what, you know, women should be doing and how they should be doing it. It's changed drastically, certainly from the onset of her story, but also arguably not that much. Unfortunately, we're still having these conversations. These things are still issues. There's still... I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. I don't need to say anything more than that. But her sensuality and her kind of rejection of these patriarchal structures has led to the progress of her own story. She has shifted from initially thought of as a demon to a religious figure, to now she's kind of known and often referred to as the first ever witch. So now in society, it is more socially acceptable to quote unquote be a witch than it ever has been. It's very mainstream, very accepted, we're all witches, you know? And that's not by accident. That's very much a result of what society looks like and how it has changed and just kind of our thoughts on what a woman should or could be. So again, like this is another thing though, that even today, she's often viewed as the first ever witch. There's still so many people who still use that as a bad thing. And it's an example of what not to be. But that's always going to exist to some extent. I feel like there's always going to be like this push and pull of like quote unquote the ideal woman, because it's different for everybody. And like people think they have to agree on what that is. And that's just... it's just not the case. I'm stopping because I'm like really straying from my list here and I'm like going to fall down this rabbit hole. But yeah, I will say the reason I bring that up is because as I was doing this research, I really was surprised at how many forums and articles and all of these things that I found that talked about her as a horrible example of womanhood, like to this day. Like she's still very much used as a cautionary tale. She's still very much spoken about in if you like Lilith, you're just like, I don't know, in cahoots with Satan or whatever. And Satan's never really mentioned in her story at all. Like she was a demon because like she became a demon that was like against her will. You know what I mean? Like it just blew my mind how even today there was like a 50-50 split between thinking of her as like this cool, powerful witch woman versus like, don't ever call upon Lilith or you will like be possessed or whatever. I don't even know.
I wish that surprised me more.
I think it surprised me just because I think I've done a very good job of only communicating with people who would think that was ridiculous. I'm like safe in my bubble. You know what I mean? Like, but then to your point, like when I use my logical brain, it shouldn't have surprised me the way it did, you know? With that being said, fuck that perspective. I love Lilith. She's my girl. Love her to death. I love her energy. I call upon her all the time. She is having a moment right now. I will say the silver lining is there's that other 50% who is like, wait, we were wrong about her. what's going on over here? What's the succubus situation? I want to let's dabble, And that very much corresponds with how popular / more accepted it is for women to perform magic and be witches, etc., etc. So if you are a witch and you're interested in working with Lilith, but you don't know where to start, there's a lot of resources online that can help you get started. We will be linking some in the show notes, but I'm going to give you just a quick overview here so you don't have to wait at all. You can get started tonight with your demon succubus journey. First and foremost, much to my dismay, it is said that the best way to summon Lilith is in a dark forest or wooded area under a new moon. So complete darkness.
I can do that.
Gina's ready. Gina's so ready. If you do not have a pitch black forest at your disposal, a darker candlelit room will work just fine. Some common offerings for her are red wine, rich dark chocolate, like a musky, sensual scent, red candles, dark crystals, and also human blood. But don't kill anybody. Just a little prick on the finger will do.
Oh, okay. I was picturing goblets.
Yeah, I don't want to be cited in any tragedies. So everything in moderation, So yeah, just think if, offerings, altar setups, whatever, just think decadence, anything like rich, sultry, dark colors, things like that. But why would you want to call upon Lilith? That's a great question. One of the main reasons people work with her and work with her energy is for confidence. If you feel like you're having trouble, like finding your voice, questioning authority, building your independence, kind of finding where you fit in your own stories, she's like kind of a good energy to call upon, because she's a good example of like not having many choices and not really having any good options and still doing what she could with that and just finding a way to move forward. So she's someone that is good to call upon if you're feeling stuck really in any way. Don't be afraid of the demonic association she has. One of the most successful things men have ever done throughout all of history is make women or other non-male human being afraid of things so that they can stay controlled. You're not going to accidentally get possessed or possess someone if you work with Lilith. That's just not how that works. We'll talk about that another time. Darn. I know. You can do it intentionally if you want to, but you're not going to accidentally stumble upon being possessed by Satan, I promise. He's got better things to do than possess any of our listeners. So yeah, next time someone makes you feel trapped or less than, give her a little summon and send us an email to let us know how it goes.
I want to set up an altar now.
Oh my God, you should. I have my altar. I have a little red candle out for her right now. I'm not going to show it to you because it's a little bit of a mess.
Oh,
that's another thing people should know. These things do not have to be pretty. Just channel Lilith and just do what you can with what you have. It's okay.
Great way to end it.
Oh my God, did you like that?
I like
that. Cuff,
that really put a bow on it. That was fucking good. That's that Lilith energy. You're just doing
it.
You're just doing it. Doing a damn thing. Yeah. Fuck yeah. I have so many thoughts. Most of them are rage-filled. And also a lot of pride, to be honest. In women and women's history. Yeah, I texted Gina and was like, hey, this is a little more anti-patriarchy than I intended it to be. And I actually I edited a lot of that out. Oh,
this
God.
is the edited version since I texted you about that. Yeah, I was on a lot of cough medicine for the first one and just getting real mad. I was just letting it all out. I've been feeling extra, like I'm already always full of feminist rage, but it's just been so much recently, hasn't it? As it goes. As it goes. Well, thank you so much. That was absolutely fascinating. Yes. And I'm going to set up my altar and take a picture and send it to you. Oh my God, yes, we can share it. Yes. Okay, yes. I'll definitely do that. I'll pick up some stuff this weekend. But thank you guys for joining us. And until next time, little spoons, keep it cool. Keep it creepy.